For Americans concerned about the cost of living, many are seeking the great escape from the tax man.
What year did Arizona enact the flat tax?
So it's 2021.
There's a surge of states either eliminating the income tax or reducing it, and it's a popular cause many people are jumping to join.
We don't have a state income tax.
Reduce the income taxes, that would be great.
This week, we'll show you the movement and the maps of where cuts are coming to you.
The promise to cut prescription drug prices has spanned at least 2 presidents. So why are we seeing so little in savings?
Policymakers really do not understand how the drug markets work. They simply don't.
We look at the problem and the one culprit that keeps coming up.
Amid the chaos of crowds and whatever the protest in whichever city in America, comes the new form of generational journalists.
So all these people right here are Antifa, and they're against what's going on here at this ICE detention facility.
This week, when a reporter meets an influencer.
So are you just trying to show what you think is maybe a more realistic depiction of what's going on down here?
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. In recent days, President Trump again floated an intriguing and popular idea, cutting way back on or even eliminating the federal income tax. A quiet rebellion has already been brewing at the state level, with some states slashing or even scrapping their income taxes, promising bigger paychecks, booming businesses, and a magnet for population growth. It may not exactly be a Tea Party revolution, but proponents say state tax cuts are a growth engine helping to reshape America's map.
Arizona reports remarkable results since changing its taxing strategy. Republican Senator J.D. Mesnard was a key architect of Arizona's flat tax, where everybody now pays the same low rate.
What year did Arizona enact the flat tax?
So it's 2021.
And what would you say has been the tangible impact since then?
As Arizona has continued to be a place folks have talked about, doing that just moved us that much further up the ranks.
Arizona once had a progressive taxing system like the federal income tax. The more you made, the greater percentage of your income you had to pay.
When I got into office 15 years ago, one of my goals was to try to collapse that, simplify that, and then one day maybe start ratcheting it down closer to zero. And a few years ago, we had the ability to, in fact, achieve that. We collapsed all 5 brackets first into 4 and then into 1, which was actually below the lowest rate that we had, 2.5%. Was phased in over a couple of years. Huge tax cut, but also this major tax reform that I and others have been fighting for a very long time. So now we have the lowest flat tax of any state in the country.
Lowering state income taxes or eliminating them altogether has become a popular trend.
Do you know what states have the highest income tax?
Yeah, the highest top rate of a state income tax is 13.3% in California for high earners. And then there's a general payroll tax, not for UI, that makes it 14.4% on wage income. So that's the highest you can get at the state level.
Jared Walczak is with the Tax Foundation, a nonprofit backing simple, transparent tax codes.
If you want to combine state and local, then New York City is going to get you the highest. You're going to get about 14.77%.
And then obviously adding that to the federal income tax.
Yes, these are very high rates.
Today, there are 9 states with no regular income tax on wages: Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. Walczak says 28 states have reduced income tax rates since 2021.
Really, the pandemic seems to have been a tipping point where a lot of states were flush with cash. They had an opportunity to make reforms, and they were asking, where do we want to do that?
What about COVID made states awash in cash? Was it the federal funding that they were getting?
There's a variety of things. We had a very long period of economic growth. We had the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was a significant tax cut at the federal level, but it broadened the base and lowered the rates. So a lot of states were already primed to cut their rates. But then during the pandemic, you did have some of the temporary relief, and a lot of states were looking at ways to return some of that to the taxpayer.
States implementing fresh cuts this year include Alabama, Georgia, Hawaii, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Arkansas, Iowa, and Montana are phasing in lower rates. Mississippi and Oklahoma are phasing out individual income taxes entirely over time. The no-tax states have long touted their edge. Florida and Texas draw retirees and tech firms with promise of people being able to keep more earnings.
I live in Vancouver, Washington, and as far as the state income tax, we don't have a state income tax.
Depending on what the cuts would be, if you could make appropriate cuts and reduce the income taxes, that would be great.
I think the states could eliminate state income taxes if they tried and went to more of a purchase type of tax, like a flat tax on goods and products and stuff like that.
Listen, all I know about that is that I pay a lot of taxes.
Cutting the federal income tax is also popular. President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill delivers on average $3,752 in cuts per taxpayer by extending tax cuts from Trump's first term, adding no tax on tips, and more, totaling $4.5 trillion in relief over a decade. The law also lowers the tax brackets and doubles the standard deductions.
What is the highest individual income tax rate right now on the federal level?
37%.
Do you see any serious possibility that the federal income tax would be reformed, changed, drastically reduced, or done away with?
Not done away with. Usually, even when simplification is the goal, policymakers end up making it more complicated. But certainly we've seen changes. When you look at what the rates used to be, in the World War II era, there was a top rate of around 90%. Until the Reagan administration, there were top rates well over 50%. So we've seen a lot of relief, but the individual income tax for federal purposes is likely with us for a long time.
Wozak says there can be a downside to shrinking taxes. States can get in trouble if they reduce taxes without a full plan.
So Mississippi would be an example of a state that was looking at full-fledged repeal of their income tax a couple of years ago in what I thought was an unbalanced manner. I went down and testified before the state Senate and said, you don't have a responsible plan to do this. The alternative revenue streams that you're talking about are inadequate. And they ended up scaling that down, making a much smaller reduction. And now they have some triggers that if the revenues are there, if they have the opportunity, they will continue to reduce their rate and maybe go to zero someday. But it wasn't that cut in one fell swoop. And I think that would have been irresponsible.
Some skeptics claim no-tax states simply charge higher sales taxes, hitting low-income families hardest.
I've long heard the argument that, oh yeah, state X, or Florida, for example, may not have an income tax, but they stick it to you in other ways, so you're still paying the same amount.
You're not paying the same amount. You are paying less. It's certainly true that other taxes may be higher. That in a state like Texas, for instance, property taxes are higher than they are in the average state. On net, you're still paying way less in taxes as a household in Texas than you are in most other states. That's true of Florida as well, and Tennessee as well, and New Hampshire, and all of these other states. Yes, if you're in Tennessee, your sales taxes are high. But if you add up all of your taxes, you're paying way less in those states.
Is doing away with, eliminating or reducing state income tax more popular among Democrats or Republicans when you look at party?
I'd say Republicans have overwhelmingly been those talking about elimination. But both parties talk about relief. You can find Democratic governors who have championed rate relief. You're probably not going to find as much interest in full elimination because Democrats may dislike the pay-fors a little more or like some of the revenue potential of the income tax, although that's not universal. In Colorado, for instance, the Democratic governor there has said that while he doesn't currently have a plan for it, he'd love to repeal the income tax someday. So you see it on both sides, at least to some degree.
There's evidence that tax cuts are helping reshape America's map. Data shows that states reducing taxes since 2021 have seen faster revenue growth and increasing population. That includes Arizona.
After we passed the flat tax that we did, I did get a number of calls from legislators in other states. When I was sharing our success with them, part of me was thinking, but I don't want you to compete with us too much because, we're having success here. But I obviously love to see other states be successful.
Illinois recently decided to continue taxing tips at the state level, even though they're now exempt at the federal level under President Trump's reforms. Ahead on Full Measure, what's really being done to slash drug costs for you? In January, Trump RX is officially scheduled to launch. It will allow people to bypass insurers and other middlemen and buy discounted drugs directly from manufacturers at up to 80% off list prices. One big difference will come with those popular weight loss drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy and Murrow. They now can cost over $1,000 a month, but under Trump RX, cash patients will be able to get them for about $350 a month. Then by mid-2026, Medicare will cover elderly patients on those drugs for weight loss for the first time for even less, a $50 copay. Analysts say the Trump RX drug price cuts are faster and deeper than the much heralded program President Biden installed that got bipartisan support. It involves some phased-in drug price negotiations under Medicare. If the Trump plan works, it can't come too soon because Lisa Fletcher reports the Biden price negotiations could be backfiring.
Here you go. It's now law.
When Democrats passed President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act in 2022, it came with a high price tag and a big promise.
We're giving Medicare the power to negotiate those prices now on some drugs. This means seniors are going to pay less for the prescription drugs.
The idea that for the first time, the federal government would negotiate drug prices directly with drug companies. The aim? To lower costs for both the taxpayers and Medicare patients. Medicare provides health care for 67 million adults, mostly seniors. The program cost taxpayers $1.12 trillion last year, of which more than $220 billion was spent on prescription drugs. Like $12.6 billion on the blood thinner Eliquis, $4.7 billion for the diabetes drug Trulicity, and $3.2 billion for Imbruvica that treats cancer.
Policymakers really do not understand how the drug markets work. They simply don't. And they're legislating based on these profound misunderstandings of how things work.
Bill Smith is a health policy expert with the Pioneer Institute in Boston, a public policy think tank. He's been tracking drug prices since the law passed and noticed a trend with out-of-pocket costs, the cash that patients pay up front at the pharmacy. His study findings for most of the 10 drugs the government negotiated lower prices for, costs for patients have started to rise significantly, even before the new negotiated prices come into effect.
I think the biggest surprise was that out-of-pocket costs were up 32%. The government should be embarrassed by this.
So why are costs for patients going up instead of down? Middlemen companies called pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, usually negotiate drug prices for Medicare patients. But Smith says with the government cutting out the middlemen for lower costs, the middlemen are finding ways to charge more elsewhere to keep the profits rolling in.
So the way to make it up is to charge seniors more out of their pocket. We finally beat the pharma companies, is what President Biden said. Well, the seniors are the ones that got the short end of the stick here, and they were supposed to be the ones that were helped.
Smith showed us what's happening with Eliquis, a popular drug used to treat and prevent blood clots.
This is Eliquis in all 4 PBMs. The average out-of-pocket cost went from $77.99 to $106.10 across all 4 PBMs.
Smith says PBMs are likely padding their balance sheets by raising out-of-pocket charges now, anticipating lower revenue when the drug cost controls start next year. While direct drug price negotiation passed under President Biden, Trump has also made lowering prescription costs a priority.
Here is the bill. Bobby, come on over here.
He signed an executive order to tie the price of drugs in the U.S. to the lowest prices paid in other developed countries. In early August, the president proclaimed incredible savings.
You know, we've cut drug prices by 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500%.
The White House later clarified Trump was talking about future savings.
Hey, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary, and today we met with patients from all over the country.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now tasked with making drug makers who are bitterly opposed comply.
We're in negotiations right now with the pharmaceutical companies, and we are going to pay the same at the end of this as people pay in Europe and other nations.
According to Bill Smith, the lesson to take from President Biden's effort to lower drug costs is that it is much harder than it seems.
So what effect has the Biden plan actually had on drug prices?
Well, the government is going to pay less because the list price has dropped. But unfortunately, senior citizens who are on Medicare are going to pay more out of pocket.
2026 will prove whether the efforts of Presidents Biden and Trump can finally start to bring drug prices down. For Full Measure, I'm Lisa Fletcher in Boston.
And a note on a story we've covered a lot over recent years. The CDC has amended language on its website to acknowledge for the first time studies showing links between vaccines and autism. The new statement reads, "The claim vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim because studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism. Studies supporting a link have been ignored by health authorities." That new posting also adds that the Department of Health and Human Services, under Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has launched a comprehensive assessment probe on the causes of autism. Coming up on Full Measure, are influencers revealing the truth or fanning the flames? An East Coast visitor who decided to check out the ICE protests in Portland, Oregon, ended up getting in a fight and under arrest recently. Just one example of curiosity seekers and even troublemakers drawn by videos of violent clashes. Scott Thuman reports on the difference between reality and what you may see on video.
Between clashes with cops and infighting among demonstrators, the scene outside this ICE facility in downtown Portland, Oregon can get, as those here like to say, spicy from time to time. But most nights, it's peaceful, with little action other than transport vans or ICE agents coming and going. So why is the drama playing out almost every evening since October?
This is your life. This is your legacy.
Some say it's lasted this long partly because of streamers.
So all these people right here are Antifa, and they're against what's going on here at this ICE detention facility.
Those often young activists armed with cameras and lights and broadcasting it all for their online followers.
Right now, we got only 353 in the chat. The day before yesterday, there was 1,000. I got 3,000 subscribers now, so yeah, it just kind of fluctuates whoever's online at the moment.
Cameron, a streamer crossing the country in his van and here protesting immigration enforcement under the handle Cameron Walks on YouTube, argues he's here to air what doesn't make the news.
So are you just trying to show what you think is maybe a more realistic depiction of what's going on down here?
Yeah. My goal is to show what's really going on in front of the ICE buildings. Ever since the White House kind of mentioned this whole situation, everyone's been looking for this online. I've got up from like 800 subscribers to 3,000 on YouTube.
Prompting some to travel to Portland and be a part of it.
You've heard these phrases to describe your city, specifically that block. War zone, war ravaged, can't be saved.
Portland's police chief, Bob Day.
Yeah, I mean, it's really disappointing. I mean, those are extreme terms, and I know we've, been referenced to all kinds of dysfunction about the city of Portland. And if you look at these 20-second clips, you can make that argument. I mean, I see this online. I see these things that are shown, and I'm like, wow, that looks really bad. Then you go down there and you realize it's 25 people, and it's 4 or 5 people that are in a shouting match or a shoving match, and then all of a sudden that gets seen as, the city's out of control. and we're not able to convey like we actually made an arrest there, or we did this follow-up, or we did, because that's not the part that's interesting.
That's not the sexy headline.
Yeah, that's not what gets people's attention.
Though it may not be their creators' intention, viral clips often don't convey how even violent events can be limited to small parts of a city. During Trump's first term, up-close video like this may have given the impression all of D.C. was erupting as police cleared the path outside the White House for President Trump's visit to a church across the street during Black Lives Matter demonstrations. But it was mostly confined to a tiny area of just a few blocks. Dramatic images sometimes used to incite rather than inform. In Portland's case this year, costing the city as Chief Day deployed more resources, officers, and overtime. Stacey Pritchard is another streamer. She's for immigration enforcement and against Antifa.
Do you think has your stream encouraged people to come out here that weren't coming out earlier?
I think that does too. I think that helps encourage people to come out here because it's like we can't be afraid. And I think it also sheds light on what's really happening in Portland and how messed up and mental it is. I've had a lot of people message me like from Pennsylvania, from Texas, from Florida, from all over the place because they just like, gosh, if I could be anything to be out there right now and give these people a piece of their mind.
But countering the message, a real challenge for Chief Day.
Any advice on this subject that you might offer to other police chiefs around the country when it comes to the social media stir-ups or the streamers or anything like that?
Don't ignore it. You can't ignore it. I mean, this is the world we live in today. It exists. Don't underestimate its power and its influence. Second of all, though, don't have it change the way that you do business. I mean, we have to stay neutral in this. We have to stay with the rule of law. And then look for ways with your comms teams and with others to be able to find ways to message effectively. We need to be in this space. We're on Instagram, we're on X, we're on these other platforms. You need to be there too. I mean, that's where the narrative is being told, as well as in mainstream media. We have to be participating in that. So get in the game, be part of it, and offering a perspective.
Counter messaging.
Yeah.
Whoa. Aware it only takes one viral moment to label his city and fuel the fight. For Full Measure, Scott Thuman, Portland, Oregon.
After a break, what's ahead next week on Full Measure? Next week,
we're in California to track an incredible journey.
Tell me how many places you've been and what kind of response you get from the boards.
Well, I've gone to 48 out of 58 board of supervisors.
One man's trek across the state to warn about the continued use of the COVID vaccine.
You need to alert your residents that the COVID-19 vaccines are not safe and are not effective.
Next week on Full Measure. Until then, we'll be searching for more stories that hold powers accountable. Thanks for watching.